Hello, everybody. We are here, and I'm just gonna do some pre-race sort of pre-stream chat, just so we can get some people coming in after that practice session, which wasn't actually too bad in the end. It wasn't too. It was quite an exciting day for as exciting as practice sessions can be. Quite a lot going on, and maybe a little bit of a surprise on who was able to really set the pace. And over the course of the weekend, will that shift and change? That's going to be the question as we move on. So hello F1 guy, you were first. Well done. Thoughts on the track from Jessica? I think so far, to be fair, I quite like the track, but I still stand by and actually have sort of consolidated my view that I don't think it's going to be a fantastic race in that sense. I don't think it's you know, I'm not expecting plenty of overtakes. Tyre deg seemed fairly medium, so we could be expecting a 1 or 2 stop race. I think the 3 stop question might be out the window. I think it's more likely to be a 2 stop race, which hopefully will add a little element of strategy. So that's what we hope, at least. I didn't get to watch either of the practice sessions. Yeah, you didn't miss a lot in that sense. There wasn't anything too dramatic that went on. It's a very quick track. Maybe a little bit quicker than I was sort of expecting coming into it. The tight corners can still be taken with a lot of speed, which is a testament to these cars, really. Absolutely rapid. But as we look around, this one won't be too long actually. This is more just sort of covering because I'm actually back home at the moment, so I'm going to spend a bit more time, a bit more time with people rather than being in my uni accommodation. So what? Well, yeah, we'll get it going in properly in about 5 minutes' time. But what does everyone sort of think of that practice session? Just go wait for some more people to come into the stream. But what was everyone's thoughts early on in this weekend? I think it's shaping up to definitely be a bit interesting for sure. And maybe, I mean, even the sections that we thought the Red Bull would be quite strong in, they don't seem rapid. They don't seem unbeatable in any of those. So that's an interesting one as well. But yeah, setting up. So overall, through the practice sessions, I'll actually bring up the results and sort of show that on the screen, just so everyone can see that. Because I appreciate not everyone either would have been watching or has it open. So let's bring up the results of the practice session. We can sort of give a rundown. I think that's mostly what the stream's going to be. We don't have any like breaking news or anything, but it's going to be interesting to just sort of discuss what's going to happen. So we've got 19 hours and 18 minutes to the next session, so I need to change the timer as well. This is just exciting, isn't it? All of the admin work. So what time's practice 3 on? I just missed it as it was scrolling away on the screen. So we got, yeah, practice 2 is done 2 today. I think quali is going to be at 2 o'clock as well, UK time. So yeah. Oh, practice 3, that's what he wants. That's 11 UK time. So I'll quickly change that. We can get the little counter going in the bottom left. There we go. But yeah, that's all cool. So let's take a look. Then I'll actually bring up a screen. How about that track under lights? What beauty! It looked absolutely great, didn't it? I knew it would look a bit like Bahrain, but to be honest, it looks better than Bahrain does. That's really surprised me. It's a really good looking track. I'm just going to quickly do some work on OBS so I can bring you the actual results. That's the wrong page. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to quickly move that a little bit. There we go. Perfecto. So, let's go studio mode. There we go. See, like, I'm such a pro at OBS. I totally know what I'm doing. All the time. There we go. Right, so let's bring up, so we could have gone live time, but I think that would have ended by now. So let's look at the 2021 season and head over. Let's start with practice 1. Let's start with the morning session. Max Verstappen was actually out on top, and it looked like a fairly dominant showing, but I don't know, they were probably running lower wing, lower fuel, was able to just sort of grasp the setup a little bit quicker maybe, or at least initially, and being a little bit more attacking. What we've seen as well in these early sessions is that Pierre Gasly for a start, but sort of the midfield teams seem to have the ability to go a bit closer for a good portion of the second, but then Red Bull and Mercedes tended to put a faster lap in right at the end, which sort of spread that gap a bit. But Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly, I'd say, were standout performers probably from FP1. Both of them able to get themselves P2 and P5, so it's looking like it's shaping up to be a pretty decent weekend for AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly's been having a good time of it lately, and I think that should be continuing. As we look a little bit more down the order, McLaren hasn't been fantastic, but 10th and 11th. And yeah, that's that really. Mazepin as well wasn't able to participate in FP2 because he was actually having a chassis change, which was quite interesting. Don't tend to see that too much mid-weekend. I don't know if he run over a curb a little bit aggressively or something. I'm not entirely sure if they've given a full explanation for that one. But yeah, FP2 is a more interesting one, and I suppose more fresh in everyone's mind. So Valtteri Bottas, that actually, I think that was actually slightly slower his best lap than the one that he set that was invalidated, because the FIA decided after watching FP1 that they're going to monitor the whole track. Finally, hallelujah, for track limits, which is something that I've wanted for a really long time. So it's great to have that. You know, drivers actually have to stay within the track when they set a lap, and that's a novel concept, but yep. So narrowly edging out Pierre Gasly by just over 2/10 in the end. So again, looking really good for AlphaTauri. Maybe running a little bit lower fuel, but you know they've still done very well. And Yuki Tsunoda still was P7 in that session, so it's looking like it very much could be maybe Yuki Tsunoda picking up some points to help in the battle with Alpine. Speaking of Alpine, both of them struggling P11, P12. Ocon just beating Fernando Alonso by 15 thousandths of a second. But I think the main story was that, well, basically Bottas, whenever he rode on board with him, his car looked so solid. There was no real mistakes going on at all. It all seemed very, very measured. So it may be that Mercedes car is working actually really well through the corners, which is not what we expected coming into this weekend. But maybe they also realise that this is less of an engine track and definitely more of an aero track, which is where Red Bull tends to have an advantage. But if Mercedes can find the absolute perfect mix, then, you know, they are going to be absolutely up there. And even at tracks that have been more aero-dependent, Mercedes, you know, they haven't been miles off the pace at all. So I think it's going to come down to who can nail the setup, get the real trade-off between straight-line speed and cornering. And at the moment, it looks like Bottas has got there, but Hamilton just slower than Verstappen and 4/10 off his teammates. So they've got some work to do in that side of the Mercedes garage tonight. And they'll be looking to go out in FP3 and be as strong as possible. We've seen that before this season. They haven't looked fantastic in the early practice sessions, but then they've absolutely got there. I'm on F1 2020. I made it to the first Alfa Romeo, but got hit and now I'm out. Oh. Oh. That's not ideal. Even though it's FP2, Max is looking good. Yeah, he's looking like he's definitely got some potential. You know, it's not looking too bad. The car's not quite as stable as what Bottas has, but at the end of the day, he's in competition with Lewis, and that's where the important thing is. Hamilton needs that, basically the win and the 7-point swing that's going to come from first and second between himself and Max. Because I still stand by, I'm completely impartial on who wins the championship, but I'm not impartial on me wanting it go down to the last race of the season. So I'm behind Lewis for the next 2 races, and after that I don't care what happens, as long as it's dramatic. Hello, the Indo Astra, how are you doing? I hope you're doing really, really well. That's nice, the sub count went up, I like it when that happens. But yeah. So, what does everyone think? I know more people have joined us. What does everyone think of that practice session? Who do you think is going to come out on top once we head to quali tomorrow? I think I'll be doing a pre-quali stream. I can imagine I'll do that. Bit of post-FP3 talk and pre-quali. I'll definitely be on for that. So, if you are here, do subscribe to make sure that you don't miss that, because we will be bringing any breaking news on F1. So just subscribe and ring the notification bell as well, so that you get all of the latest F1 news that we are covering. So feel free to ask any questions as well. It doesn't have to be related to practice, just any F1 questions that you want to talk about, whether it's for next year or the race this weekend. Top practice highlights, undoubtedly Toto and Hornet. Yeah, they're in between practice 1 and practice 2. Sky actually showed, Sky Sports F1 actually showed the team principal press conference, which included Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, which was as fun as you'd imagine. And I can't really repeat parts of it on stream. There was a lot about one of my personal favourites was Toto talking about certain team managers kissing, or Christian talking about certain team managers kissing Toto's ass. Oh yeah, hang on, I haven't changed the yeah, thank you for that. I haven't changed the Qatar text. I reset the time just as we started the stream, but I forgot to actually change the text. There we go, FP3. There we go. Max on mediums, FP2, that's why there's a gap. Yeah, absolutely. He's got some good pace as well. You know, we're not saying Max is out of the question at all, but it definitely wasn't quite as stable as what likes of Bottas was able to do. But able to edge out Hamilton was a pretty comfortable thing, and they were talking to some of the Mercedes team. Karen. They were talking to some of the Mercedes team afterwards, and they actually seemed fairly confident about Saudi and Abu Dhabi, which is what we were expecting. That's not too much of a surprise, but it's interesting to hear them actually say that. And then this weekend they're saying they seem to be about even on pace. So hopefully what I said before is sort of right in the sense that this is the decider of whether we have a championship decider, if that makes sense. Because if Max wins this race, then I don't think it's going to go down to the wire, barring any really disastrous things that happen for Max. Bottas P1 in practice and Ham P1 in quality. Yeah, it could very well end that way. It is just a case, I think, of just perfecting the setup and sort of just fix any small issues that they have already. I think I'm edging towards the idea of it being a 2-stop race, which I'm absolutely fine with. Because that should lead to more overtaking and make it a slightly more interesting race. Because I think the race is going to be won or lost on strategy for sure. I'd like it to be a free stop. I miss free stops. We're going back in first. Maybe I crash a few people out. Engage a bit of punt to pass. Who do you want to win the championship? Personally, I'm not really fussed. If I absolutely had to say one, I'd say Lewis, just because my dad supports him. So I want to see him happy. That's nice. But me personally, I'm a big McLaren fan. So not really got a horse in this fight. To be honest, I want it to go to Abu Dhabi, probably like 2010. Yeah, I absolutely want it to go to the last race. I think that's the most important thing, and think how many eyes it's going to bring to F1 potentially coming into a new era of the sport with the regulations next year. Max wins the next 2 races, then he's won the championship. If Lewis wins in Yas, then they'll likely be equal on points, but Max will have more wins. So yeah, they're separated by 14 points at the moment, so we can bring it down to 0 points for the start of the race at Yas Marina, and that's what I'm absolutely hoping for, because like I was sort of leading on to a second ago, think about how many eyes that's going to bring onto the sport and sort of, marketing that they can drag out of it. Predictions for quali and race. I'd say at the moment qualifying, that's a really, really tough question, because I don't feel like the pace we've seen so far is too representative, especially as, overnight the teams are going to go over the data. They're going to come in with fairly new setups for tomorrow. Bottas was saying on TV that he was pretty happy with his setup, but it's still not perfect. So we're definitely going to have a little bit of a massive overhaul of the setups tonight. Prediction for qualifiers. Race as well. I really don't know. I think that's going to be incredibly dependent on qualifying. I think whoever's got pole position could very easily go on to win the race. It's more tailored towards them. What do you think about the undercut chances in this circuit? Very high indeed. There's a lot of ridiculously fast sweeping corners here, so I'd say it's very high chances of getting a really strong undercut. There's no doubt about that. Do I have my fantasy team? No, I started doing fantasy at the start of the season, but I stopped doing it. I sort of missed it for a couple of races, and then I'll come back fresh next year. Actually, there's a brilliant thing. I can do a RaceBeacon fantasy and get as many of you to join it as possible. That'd be really cool. Renolan, hello Renolan. Hope you are having a good day. I'm going to focus on this stream now, not F1 2020, because I just crashed again. Yeah, that is a major mood. What was the issue of the Red Bull wing flex today? It's actually an ongoing issue that we're not entirely sure what it is, because obviously they're not going to talk about any fundamental flaws in their aero package. I'm top 10k global league. Oh, well done, Simon. That's gone very well. But yeah, we don't know what particularly is going on with the Red Bull rear wing. It's clearly got some issues, and I don't think they want it to flex, or shake on the straights as it effectively is. Did I hear that they rejected Mercedes appeal? Yes, I did. I was gonna go live with it, but I was in bed, so I was quite happy, and I had a lecture, so because it was online. But yeah, I think that's quite interesting as well to reject the appeal, and I'd say it's fair to reject the appeal. Do I think Max should have had a penalty? Ignoring the drivers that were involved, I do think that it would have been a penalty if it was a midfield car. But I don't know. I feel like it's weird for the stewards to not even investigate it in the first place. That was just really weird to me. It appeared Red Bull got the flex out of the wing by the end of FP2. Yeah, at least performed better. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't shaking as much as it was. And you know that wouldn't gain you time. You've got it acting upwards as well. So you know it's increased drag down the straights at high speeds, which is not particularly what you want. So yeah, I don't think it's a deliberate part of their car or aero package. I don't think particularly it's too illegal at the moment. So. That's an interesting shout, and I don't know what the issue is. I assume they've come in with a new spec rear wing somewhere, and they've tried to just make it a little bit lighter, maybe shedded some weight somewhere, and it's just backfired a little bit. It's definitely a possibility, but a bit interesting. Like I say, we haven't got any breaking news or anything. I just wanted to sort of go live for a little bit today, just sort of see what everyone thought of the practice sessions. We're not going to be, we're not going to be doing any of our hour and a half live streams that we've done before for sure. This is very much going to be a half-hour, 45-minute thing. Since Lewis had a loss of power in FP1, do you think it will come back to haunt him in a race? I'd expect them to use a different power unit for tomorrow and the race. I'd imagine. Who's going to win Constructors? I think Merc. Yeah, I think it'll be Mercedes Constructors, and then the Drivers' Championship at the moment, I think, hinges on this race pretty much, so... From next week, I could be a lot more confident in the predictions. We'll be doing a lot of talk about it in the post-race stuff and the midweek roundup on Wednesday next week. Also tonight, I have a video coming out, I think at 5:30. I think it's 5:30, where it's a DHL commentary lap. It's sort of my entry for a competition they're doing, so that'll be cool. So, just subscribe to the channel if you want to hear me do some commentary as well. It's not the best bit of commentary in the world. We only get to do one sector, so try to fit as much in as possible. They do not want Pierre to be above Verstappen, and I'll watch him qualify below him. I mean, I don't know. If they can... Perez seems a little bit more off the pace this weekend so far. Just not quite as happy with the car. Actually, where was he in... yeah, he was actually P8 in FP2. We've sort of glossed over that point so far. But yeah, if they can effectively use Gasly as the second Red Bull, I don't think they'll be too fussed. You won't see my commentary. Oh, that's fun. I like that. But yeah, so that'll be coming out a little bit later today. Sort of have to chuck it all into one sector. I don't like how they've done the competition, but the prizes are quite nice. So if I happen to win, that would be fantastic. But which is why I'd like to say that if you could all, when it comes out, go to the description and there's a love it section. If you just click that link and press love it on the website, then fantastic. But yeah, that'll be coming out later. It's just a bit of commentary from I think it's Lewis Hamilton at Sector 1 at the US Grand Prix for the fastest lap there. I did watch FP2, but I saw Norris is doing good somewhere. Yeah, he had a pretty good performance in FP2, to be fair. Not too bad at all. We're actually up to 660 subscribers, so thank you guys for the new subscriptions. That's absolutely fantastic. So I want to see the culture. I did watch FP2. Yeah, McLaren seem to have okay pace today. I think going forwards, they've got a little bit to look forward to this weekend, especially at Saudi as well. Perez didn't get lap time stuff. Okay, that makes more sense with Perez. So he was a bit off in FP1 as well. So sort of I saw a lot of people saying that. Didn't Lance Stroll have a problem? I'm not entirely sure. I didn't catch a problem if there was. So I'm not 100% sure on that one. Didn't Lance Stroll have a problem? Yeah, I don't know. It's really annoying on the F1 website. They don't put what tyres everyone was on. I'm gonna see if they do on the. I know on Twitter Pirelli normally do, or they used to do a rundown, and I think they included what tyres everyone was on. Let's see if they did. obviously, you know, they're a little bit more engaged in the tyres than everyone else. No, they haven't so far, which is a bit annoying. Have they got the Practice 2 highlights out on YouTube yet? Because I think they include the tyre on there, I'm fairly sure they include the tyre on there. Oh, that's nice. I can see my own stream popping up when I type it in. I'm never going to get used to that. So they have the tyres for FP1. I'll have a quick look at that. So we looked at FP1's obviously not representative at all, really, because they're well off the pace, running higher fuel. I think, well, and also because it was run in the daytime, which is completely different to what we've had in FP2. On obviously did race simulation. Yes, that was it. They went on. Yes, they did the race simulation at the end, which is really interesting because Lewis went 2 laps longer and was doing the same pace on 2 laps more worn tyres than Verstappen was. So you never know, if you're a Hamilton fan, you may have some hope in the race. If they can pull out a little bit of quali time, it could be looking all right. But Bottas again looked like he was setting the pace on the. I think Bottas was on the mediums. He was. And Verstappen and Lewis were on the softs, and I think Checo as well. And then I think it was Stroll in P5 on the race pace, running on mediums when that graphic came up. So that's quite interesting. Maybe Aston Martin could be in for a good weekend. I don't think those graphics are particularly helpful, to be honest, though. They're not often very right, so I don't have a lot of hope with it. I'd like to see Aston Martin do well. Hopefully next year they can fix the issues that they had this year with the floor and the regulations changing, making it a little bit harder for them. Obviously, that's what Mercedes have been hit by and why we have such a close championship in the first place. Post-season testing is a thing. Yeah, they do have post-season testing. Yeah, it's where the junior tests tend to happen. So that's always a bit of fun to sort of see the sort of the future generation of drivers getting a go in an F1 car. Yeah, that's after Abu Dhabi. So right at the end of the season. Actually, is there a date for that yet? And I sort of, it's nice to look at the results, that sort of thing. I'll see on the F1 website on the schedule if they've got anything. No, they've just got. Oh yeah, they added the esports section to the calendar stuff, which is pretty neat if you're an esports driver. I'm not quite quick enough. A couple of tenths a lap off. Still quick, but not quite quick enough, unfortunately, to get to do that. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, to which didn't know. So yeah, I mean, overall, what's everyone thinking for the weekend? I saw her F test of MotoGP, so it was amazing. Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of MotoGP. I feel like I should get into MotoGP. Sort of a big fan of what Valentino Rossi's been able to do through his career. So, it's sad to see him doing his last race. I mean, I crash every minute. But yeah, overall, I think predictions-wise for this weekend, I'm interested to see what everyone thinks. For everyone, if you want to put your sort of top 3 in the comments, sort of have a look at that and see how much carnage you're expecting in the race. I think it'll be close, but Mercs have the upper hand. It does seem to be that way. Potentially, I think we're only talking a matter of tenths though, so the race could still swing either way depending on how qualifying goes, and well, of course, the strategy. That's going to be one of the most important bits. So how many times do you reckon the sales lap will be broken tomorrow? Already broken like 15 times today long. A lot. And the race lap record as well is going to be updating almost lap by lap. So that'll be quite fun. Quali Max, yeah, potentially he's got to pull out a great lap. Hambot Ver, Race Max, Hamver Bot. Yeah. I think that's pretty sound, pretty. Why Lewis new engine braking so early? Well, I think he'd have been using the old engine in this session, because they have 2 ICs in the pool, so I reckon they're using the older one because it's the Friday engine, and gearbox and things like that. So, Sorokin to win. I miss Sorokin. He was a bit of a laugh. Prime example, I just crashed on the opening lap on F1 2020. Well, that's not gone particularly well. Zoom's now shouting at me because there's an update. I don't have Zoom open, so I don't know why it's decided to do that, which is absolutely great. Sorokin to win. I do miss Sorokin. It'd be great to have him back. Same sort of boat with Brendan Hartley as well. I sort of miss him being in F1. He wasn't actually that bad. But yeah, I think looking forward tomorrow to quali, you're going to see, I think the top 10, they're going to be qualifying on the medium tyres as much as possible. They're definitely going to be trying to do that. Is it you, Beacon? Hello, George. Hello, hello. Renolan saying Verstappen, Hamilton, Lando. I would be up for that. I think realistically, McLaren have a couple of okay races coming up, so maybe they can bring the fight back to Ferrari, but I don't find that too likely. I think the points get massive goat. Could the Alphas be on the podium? It's going to be difficult. I don't think so. I think when we actually get to qualifying, even FP3 tomorrow, I don't think you're going to see the AlphaTauri drivers quite as high. You never know, though. They can pull something out of the bag, absolutely. Gasly's been there or thereabouts. All he needs is a little bit of drama at the start of the race, and he could be in with it. But the race pace isn't there. Compared to the one-lap pace in that AlphaTauri, the race pace is not quite as strong. Lewis should take engine penalty in every race if it's possible. It worked in Brazil. But no, I thought maybe they could take a new engine in Jeddah, which sounds a bit counterproductive considering it's a track they're meant to do well at. But when you consider it is a track they are meant to do well at, they could. I think, if I was them, Jeddah should be fairly simple to overtake at. There's no heavy braking zones, so that could be a challenge. But there's so much opportunity for slipstream and getting moves done. Even if it's not done under braking, if you have the DRS, you should be well in there. Have they released where the DRS zones could be at Jeddah yet? That'd be interesting. We'll look to that more in the future, but that'd be a really interesting one actually, because I'm interested to see how many DRS zones we get, because we there's a decent chance we're not going to get many, because yeah, we have some straights, but you need a braking zone. You need somewhere where you can brake for a DRS zone to end. I reckon Jeddah will be a difficult one to overtake. It could be, and I don't really know. It's going to be really fast paced, but like I say, lack of braking zones is going to make it hard to, sort of cement a move. And it does depend how many DRS zones we actually get. A lot of dirty air in Jeddah then. Yeah, to an extent, but then they're not very they're not very tight fast corners, so it doesn't. I don't think dirty air is going to be a massive. Cooling will be a massive issue, definitely, but I don't think like dirty air is in causing understeer is going to be too much of a threat. Have the stewards created a dangerous precedent with the denial of investigation on Verhamilton? I think the dangerous precedent wasn't set today. It was set in Brazil when they decided not to even investigate it, because you have to think in an alternate universe, two other drivers do it, and they make contact in the runoff. And then they're careering towards the wall at high speeds that they're not designed to take. So, from a safety point of view, so that's why the track limits are there, and that's why FIA safety gradings are a thing. But I think they were right not to give the appeal today. To be fair, in the sense that they're right, it wasn't substantial new evidence. The stewards made a decision based on the evidence. I don't agree with that decision, but there's no substantial new evidence as well. I did it again. I flipped the car this time. Wow. Okay. That's impressive. Do a barrel roll. I'm really worried for Max. This track looks good for Mercedes. It's also happening in their cold night. Yeah, Mercedes do tend to prefer the cooler air. I think. Definitely. We've discussed that in previous streams. When we had Morgan on the other week actually after the race in Brazil. Are Mercedes seriously considering a changing car? I assume engine. Bradley Moore to talk about Joe. yes. Yeah, we can give that a quick mention as well. Got a new Joe being, of course, confirmed for Alfa Romeo. We've sort of had a look at that last stream as well for a bit, but I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what people think about that. They had some more talk about Guan Yu during FP2 on the Sky Comms. I don't know what to expect with Zhou through the course of a season. He's definitely a competent driver, but there was definitely better choices in the F2 in the F2 grid at the moment. So, like, if we have a quick look at the standings in F2 at the moment, we've got obviously Oscar Piastri leading. Guan Yu Zhou is second, but you have to remember he's in his third year now. Yeah, he's in his third year. I'd say like I'm actually quite annoyed we don't get to see Tictum in the Williams. That would have been quite fun. I do quite like Tictum just from a sense of view that he's not like other drivers at all. But yeah, Oscar Piastri absolutely deserves to be in F1. And I think we will see him in F1 at some point. Honestly, he's such a quick driver, really promising career ahead of him if he can get into a seat and really does get it. Does deserve the seat over Eilert and Piastri? No, I thought Callum Eilert deserved it this year. I actually give up at this point. Do not put me in an F1 car. I mean, the commentators through FP2 about his name was like, what are they talking about? Yeah, I don't know why that went on for so long. Like, that's not something they really needed to talk about on air. I feel like, I think they were doing some background work while actually on air, which was a bit weird. Predictions for Sunday, just open the stream. So, predictions for Sunday, it's going to be difficult. It's going to depend on quali on Saturday. Obviously, we're going to see new setups on the cars for tomorrow. The teams are going to go over all the data that they can get their hands on over the course of today. And now it's the time to analyse all of it. Every single morsel of data they can get. And we'll get fairly different setups. I think Red Bull probably needs a slightly more stable setup because it did look like Max was struggling just a little bit on his more fast runs. Albeit it was on higher fuel, so, But then again, that tends to make the car a little bit less twitchy anyway, which he seemed to have issues with, so... they've definitely got to work on some stuff down at Red Bull. I think Bottas has nailed the setup pretty quickly, or at least he's got to terms with it. But Hamilton equally as well, he definitely needs to find some more pace, which he will. We've seen that so many times this season. How many laps on Sunday? I believe it's 57 laps. I'm fairly sure. I'll quickly check for you now. I'm fairly sure it's 57 laps. So Qatar Grand Prix. Does it say? Oh, it'll be on circuit stats, I imagine. 57. Oh, I remembered it. I'm so proud of myself. But yeah, 57 laps in the race. So we're looking at I imagine. Yeah, I imagine 2-stop. I think it'll be a 2-stop because tyre wear did seem fairly high today, and the drop off in pace was definitely there, and there were some marbles offline on the main straight. So, I'd like a 2-stop. I think it gives us a much better chance of having a more interesting race because this track's not going to lend itself to overtaking. The main straight isn't all that long at all. It's actually, I think, shorter than we have at Bahrain by the looks of it. And the final run as well to the final corner. On the track map, it looks a little bit bigger than it is in real life. I was surprised by how quickly they were doing it. I think they would have benefited from making the penultimate corner, so you can see that little bit where it kinks into the left on the right hand side. If that was a whole straight, I think we'd have a much better chance for overtaking. So I'm surprised they didn't look at changing that, or maybe they did and didn't have the time to do it. And yeah, I've given up on F1 2020 for today and probably 2-stop. I agree with you. I hope it is a 2-stop. I really do. Prediction, Hamilton and Verstappen crash, Perez and Bottas fight P1, and then all of a sudden a young British goes past like a roller coaster. Yes, I'm all for that. All for that. Well, you're about George Russell or Lando? Hamilton favoured, looking at the odds, will be an interesting race for sure. Yeah, well, I think, obviously, like we've said before, Lewis absolutely does Lewis and Mercedes need to go over the data tonight, work on a better setup, bring it to the track tomorrow, and it could be pretty interesting. I'll probably keep going for another 5 minutes or so. This is more of just a short summary of what's happened in practice for anyone, just to get some talking. Lando. Hamilton power unit changed. It hasn't been changed again. But they will change the power unit for tomorrow. It just won't be a new one because they'll be running the Friday engine at this point. I reckon a new one that they used in Brazil is going to be used in all the remaining races, and they're going to use the old power units. They're going to use the old power units up until that point, I think. The one that because they have 2 in the bank at the moment. Suggested Hamilton had the old engine today and tomorrow we'll have the bullet engine. Yes, I think that's it. Also, I don't think it's quite the bullet engine. They definitely are turning it up a little bit more and using it just for the last couple of races. So obviously they know if they normally last about 7 races or so and they only have to run it for 4, then they can up the power a little bit to compensate. Who says Verstappen wasn't using it? Oh, Verstappen would have been using an old one as well. I think they still have one spare one in their pool, so... Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, look, the engines people are running today, not many of those drivers will be running the same engine tomorrow. It does. They have their Friday engines. Wait, so they only get a penalty if they change to a new pack? Yeah, yeah, basically. Because the rules are on how many they're allowed to use over the course of a season. And you can use, so let's say in the first couple of races you wanted to take 4 and take a penalty. Well, you can only take one new. You can only add one new part of each element, or one new element of each. Okay, one part of each element you can only add to it. So you can't add like 2 new ICEs. You can't add 2 new MGUKs over the course of the same weekend. It doesn't work like that. But you can take 1. So let's say in the first 5 races you want to take 5 of each power unit, set you up for the rest of the season. You'll incur a penalty in, let's say, round 4 and round 5, but then for the rest of the season you can use any of those 5 power units that you want to. You can choose whichever one you want. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, I'm supposed to be able to see a team try to do that before, sort of take penalties early on and then just have absolutely none as the season goes on. Because you could see a team sort of cheekily get their way into a couple of really high qualifying positions if someone did that. I don't think it's beneficial, but it's definitely an interesting one. You probably lose out because at the start of the season no one else is going to be taking them, so you might lose out over the course of the season, maybe 1 or 2 places. But I'm surprised I've never seen anyone give that a go. I think that'd be quite funny. Oh, okay, I understand. Yeah, it's a fairly complicated system that they run, but it's basically, yeah. So what you'll see is teams using different power units on Fridays, different components, basically to make sure if they have a crash and they write off the engine, it's not their race engine, it's got more life in it. Do you think Verstappen was losing speed with his malfunctioning DRS wing? It didn't look impressive in the speed trap. No, but we know that Honda engine absolutely can, so I think they were just running higher downforce. We saw the same sort of thing in Brazil. Red Bull, just quite a high drag car in general, but high downforce, so that's where they get a lot less speed from. Was Hamilton using old IC for FP1, FP2? I would imagine so. That would be my best guess. I think it would be. FIA really, I'd be surprised if they weren't, definitely. FIA really needs to revisit their ruling on engine penalties. 10.55 seems counterproductive. Should be 10.50. Well, I think it should realistically be 5 and then 10. I think it should be that way round, and then just 10 for each new one you take after that. I find it weird that they've punished the first one the most, but then if you take 4, you get a 10 place penalty, but if you take 5, you only get a 5 place penalty. I don't get that. I think they've got it the wrong way round, really. I was asking because I thought it was whenever you change engines at all, you got a penalty. Ah, right, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, that's fairly typical over the course of a weekend. I doubt there'd be many race engines in any of those cars today. Pierre Gasly was very impressive, but what about long runs? They weren't as strong in the long runs. I think they were focusing a little bit more on 1 lap pace, or at least a bit more low fuel running than the other teams. I would be incredibly surprised, very, very surprised if they're up there, even in quali tomorrow. I reckon for AlphaTauri it'll maybe be like Yuki Tsunoda just scraping through to Q3 potentially, and Pierre maybe qualifying like 5th again. I think that's a likely outcome for them. Bottas looked really impressive on the long runs. He did. Don't know what his engine mode was. No, he'd been a high fuel, but he was using the medium tyres, so when they came into his lap times 9 laps in, he was going quicker than Verstappen and Lewis, who had done 6 and 4 laps on the softs, so that's where a bit of the difference came from. Because the softs would have been degrading more than the mediums were. I think it was that way round, if not. Anyway, basically Bottas was on a different set of tyres, and he'd done more laps on them, so... But yeah, it looks good overall. It looks good for Mercedes on the long run pace. But like I say, we can't... That's why I'm not going to be live on this for too long, because we don't really... you can't take too much away from practice. It's not the be-all, end-all of a weekend. I think Yuki has more in his bag for the race. Potentially. Maybe he could pick up some points to see as we near the end of the season somewhere, so... I think it would look like a Lando podium. What do you think? I hope so. as a Lando fan, I'd be very happy with that. I don't think it's likely to happen though. I think they could maybe steal a 5th place. but I'd be surprised if it's anything more than that without any of the leaders crashing each other out, because the race pace compared to Mercedes and Red Bull compared to the rest of the field is just, it's mega. The difference in pace is crazy. Do you think you could overtake in the hairpin? There's not really many places to move. Potentially, if you're still side by side with a car coming into it, then yes, you probably can. On the inside or outside. Well, that depends if the driver's going to push you off. The driver on the inside is going to push the driver on the outside off. But Bottas has always done better in qualifying against Hamilton than in the races. Yeah, Bottas's race pace doesn't seem quite there, especially recently. He's been able to put it on pole quite a bit, but the race pace just not quite there. McLaren or Ferrari for this weekend. It seems like McLaren have a bit of an advantage over Ferrari this weekend, but I still think overall in the constructors it's Ferraris. It's Ferraris to lose. I have faith in Yuki. He can. There's definitely a really good driver in there. I think he's just, he was sort of rushed into F1, so it's good to give him another year in the car. Maybe next year's cars will suit him quite a bit more. So the cars look so good in FP2. Yeah, at the start of the session when they were on higher fuel, the sparks were absolutely amazing. That was, that is one thing you'll learn about these teams, is I absolutely love when an F1 car sparks. It is brilliant. It's brilliant to watch, especially of course when we're in night. But yeah, turns 12, 13, 14 look like a cool on a hot lap. Yeah, they definitely do. I think that'd be a fun one to do. Imagine the forces are going through the drives. You're easily pulling 4G there. Kind of like Istanbul Park. Yep. Yeah. That'd be interesting. But like I say, I'm back from uni at the moment, so I won't do any more streaming tonight unless there's any massive breaking news. Whenever Binotto around, Ferrari speed disappears. Well, no, it's a good point though, Jessica. We have seen that. I don't know what it is. It's just a Binotto curse. He only comes to the races where they don't quite have the speed. Perez is a bit disappointing given he has driven on this track before, but maybe it was a long time ago, and not in cars like these. So I really don't think it'd be too beneficial at all. He probably doesn't even remember it too much. Max had a problem with his DRS, but they kind of fixed it, but not completely. Yeah, that's a return of the tape that we've been seeing for the for the last few races. But yeah, I think I'm gonna round off now because we've managed to pull 45 minutes of streaming out of 3 practice sessions, so that's gone pretty well. So yeah, I will do a little bit more talking, but just while everyone's here, if you could subscribe, even if you never watch one of the videos again, that would mean the absolute world to me. That'd be absolutely brilliant. So I just like it when that little number goes up, because we are slowly approaching 700 subscribers. So that's the goal, hopefully. That's the goal. Max said probably yes. Yep. So, do you think Red Bull might have a slight edge on this track than Merc because of the medium high speed corners? Does the qualify play a factor tomorrow? I think qualifying is probably this is probably one of the most important qualifying sessions of the remaining races. It's going to be it's vital that you get pole here because it's going to be hard to overtake. The undercut though is going to be powerful. We're talking probably easily 2 seconds a lap. So that's why I hope it's 2-stop. We can shake up the strategy just a little bit. And add some more question marks over how the race is going to turn out. What are we looking at? Checo couldn't remember the track at all. It had to be reminded of a picture of his engineer. Yeah, that's what I mean. He wouldn't have gained too much from it. What happened in practice today? I couldn't watch it. Not a lot to be honest. There was nothing special went on. Nothing too dramatic. A couple of drivers struggling with the gravel traps, find themselves out there. But overall, I'd say the results sort of speak for themselves. It looks like Bottas he's got to grips pretty quickly, and maybe Lewis struggling with the car a little bit more, and Max as well didn't seem completely at home. So I don't know. Look, we can't read too much into practice. It's going to be after quali, which is when I'll go live, and we'll do some talk about that. That's the important stuff. Qualifying at 2:00 tomorrow. That's the important session. I said Bottas close to Ham in qualifying in the race. Yeah, he is. He would be. But yeah. Like I say, look, there's no breaking news. We're just sort of covering F1, so the practice sessions. I think that about does it. So obviously, I'll be covering if there's any breaking news coming out. I will probably go live tonight and do something, or at any time really when there's F1 breaking news, we'll be on it. So if you could subscribe, leave the notification bell on as well, just so you know whenever we do go live. That'd be absolutely ace. Cheers, see you tomorrow after quali. Yeah, it'll be good to see you then, Renolan. And we can get a chat about what we think is going to happen in the race, because that is where it's going to be really important, because we are heading onto what is potentially the most important race of the season before a championship decider. This is a race that's going to decide whether or not we actually do get a good run, a good contended race at Abu Dhabi. So that's it. We've got a lot to build up to. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you after qualifying tomorrow when we can discuss the grid for the Qatar Grand Prix. Hope you all have a good evening.